Krishna prati hai jahan hote Guru mukha padama vakya ite te kodiyakya padama vakya ite te kodiyakya Guru mukha padama vakya ite te kodiyakya Harana kori ho mane asha Harana kori ho mane asha Guru charane ruti esa uttama gati Shri Guru charane ruti esa uttama gati Je prasade pure sarva achar Je prasade pure sarva achar Kirtan diloye jame jame prabhu se Kirtan diloye jame jame prabhu se Divya gyan hriday prakashita Divya gyan hriday prakashita Prema bhakti jate avidya vinasa jate Prema bhakti jate avidya vinasa jate Veriga jaharturita Veriga jaharturita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Jinara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Jinara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Kordaya Deho More Padachaya Ha Prabhu Kordaya Deho More Padachaya Evejo Sushuptri Bhuvana Evejo Sushuptri Bhuvana Prabhu Korodaya Deha More Padachaya Prabhu Korodaya Deha More Padachaya Evejo Sushuptri Bhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Yasomati Nandana Vraja Bharanagara Gokula Dandana Kana Yasomati Nandana Vraja Bharanagara Gokula Dandana Kana Gopi Purana Dhanna Madhana Manohara Madhana Manohara Gopi Purana Dhanna Madhana Manohara Madhana Manohara Kaliya Dhamana Vidana Kaliya Dhamana Vidana Amala Harinama Miya Virata Amala Harinama Miya Virata Itmina Purandara Navina Nagara Bodha Bhakti Vadana Suvasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bodha Bhakti Vadana Suvasa Jagana Kalana Surakulana Suna Jagana Kalana Surakulana Suna Nanda Godhana Rakoala Nanda Godhana Rakoala Govinda Madhava Navanita Chakara. Hey Govinda Madhava Navanita Chakara. Sundarananda Gopala. Sundarananda Gopala. Yasumati Nandana Braja Baranagada Gokula Dandana Kana. Yasumati Nandana Braja Baranagada Gokula Dandana Kana. Yamuna Tata Jara Gopi Vasanara. Yamuna Tata Jara Gopi Vasanara. Rasara Sikha Kripa Maya. Rasara Sikha Kripa Maya. Ase Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara. Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara. Koko Divino Rakraya. Koko Divino Rakraya. Amala Harinama Vilasa. Govinda Madhava Navanita Chakara. Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundara Shyam Sundara Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Anita Gaura Riva 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 Gaura Riva Nitai Go Premanande Hari Bol Samavik Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahanda Parivrajakacharya Shtotarishta Shri Shimaresi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Shtotarishta Shri Shrimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Nuramanvedi Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. So reading from, this is from a lecture. This is from a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam Srila Prabhupada gave in 1972. Hold on a minute. Who is a bona fide representative? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pratibhorvakam buddhi yogam dadamitam. Krishna says that I give him intelligence. To whom? Satata yuktanam. Those who are engaged 24 hours. In which way is he engaged? Bhajatam bhajana. Those who are engaged in devotional service. What kind of devotional service? Priti purvakam. With love and affection. One who is engaged in devotional service of the Lord in love and devotion. What is the symptom of love? The symptom, the prime symptom, the most important symptom of love is that the devotee wants to see that his Lord's name, fame, etc. become widespread. He wants to see that my Lord's name be known everywhere. This is love. If I love somebody, I want to see that his glories are spread all over the world. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nacha tasmat manushyeshu kaschit me priya kritama. Anyone who preaches his glory, nobody is dearer to him than that person. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today is a special birthday. It's the first birthday of Purushottam Zaldivar. So we have to say happy birthday, give him your blessings that he can grow into a wonderful devotee like the rest of his family. You may not know that Raghunath is very unique in his generation of devotees. He's not just initiated, but he works on our altar and has for years. And he is taking on a lot of slack this summer of people who are away. So we so much appreciate him, and I wish every one of his peers could emulate him more and more. Purushottam, Purushottam. Look, this is from Lord Nishingadev. Also, I want to thank the devotees who are growing flowers in their home and bringing them every day for the deities, especially Mantrini and Tamohar. They planted so many beautiful flowers at their place, and Srila Prabhupada's garland today is made 100% out of flowers from Mantrini's garden. And many days when you see the altar covered in gardenias and roses, a lot of that is coming also from their garden. So he's not just a GBC, he's a gardener too. And we thank them very much for that. Okay, and I think the only thing that I can think of coming up special is July 4th, right around the corner. And we have a big showing at the Alachua Rec Center. There's I think 30,000 people go through there that day. And so we have a book table. We'll distribute prasadam as well. and Harinam also that day. So put it on your calendar to take part in some way. Akuti Prabhu is organizing the book table. So if you'd like time there, it starts at 3 in the afternoon and goes till 10, anywhere in that time slot. Also, I want to welcome Jambu back. Haripo. He's here for a few months. We don't know how long we'll be lucky enough to have him here. But if you notice, our stage has been deconstructed. We are remodeling it completely so that it's actually inviting to performers to come here. So we're trying to encourage more people to perform on stage. But it's been looking so sad over the years that we had to fix it up. And he is an incredible craftsman to do that. All right, here are the devotees who assisted their spiritual master dressing the deities today. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar, Madhuri Gopi Prabhu. Chota Radha Sham Sundar, Nanda Prabhu. Sri Krishna Balaram, Guru Prasad Prabhu. Chota Krishna Balaram, Nitai Priya Prabhu. Shishi Gornitai, Manjari Sundari Prabhu. Chota Gornitai, Gandharvika Prabhu. Guru Sanlor Nishringadev, Ram Narayan Prabhu. Madame Mohan Prabhu is giving class today.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Charjasto Tarasata Shri Srimad Bhagavane Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Charjasto Tarasata Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gau Premanandi Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 44, text 24 through 30. So I guess we'll do we'll do number 24 together, and then responsively, and then we'll do the others together. Tathaiva mustika purvam swamushtya bihatena vai ena balina talena bihato brisham tathaiva mustika purvam swamushtya bhihattena vai balabhadrena balina talena bihatto brisham tathaiva mustika purvam swamushtya bhihatena vai balabhadrena balina talena bihato vrisham. Sam. Please, Mataji. Swamushtya vihatena vai balabhadrena balina talena vihato visham. Okay, so we'll go on to the other verses. Pravepita sarudiram, together. Pravepita sarudiram udvaman mukatodita vyasupapatur vyupaste vatahata ivangripa tata kutam anupraptam rama praharatam vara avadhi lilaya rajan savagyam vamamushtina. 27. Taryeva ishala Krishna prapadahata shirshaka dvidha vidirnashto shalaka ubhavapi nipetatu chanure mushtike kute sale toshalake hate shesha prarudruvur malla sarve prana paripsava kopan vayasyana krishya taisam srijya dijaratu vadvamaneshu turyeshu valgantaurutanu parau. Text 30. Jana prajashrishu sarve karmana rama krishnayo ritekam samvipramukya sadhava sadhu sadviti. Now Madan Mohan Prabhu will do the rest.
So the translation to 24 and 25 are together, and it says, similarly, Mushtika struck Lord Balaram with his fist and was slain, receiving a violent blow from the mighty Lord's palm. The demon trembled all over in great pain, vomited blood, and then fell lifeless unto the ground like a tree blown down in the wind. Text 26. There's no purport to those two verses. 26 says, confronted next by the wrestler Kuja, Lord Balaram, the best of fighters, playfully and nonchalantly killed him with his left fist, O king. Text 27. Then Krishna struck the wrestler Sala in the head with his toes and tore him in half. The Lord dealt with Toshala in the same way, and both wrestlers fell down dead. Text 28. Chanora, Mushtika, Kutla, Sala, and Toshala, having been killed, the remaining wrestlers all fled for their lives. Text 29. Krishna and Balaram then called their young cowherd boyfriends to join them, and in their company the Lord danced about and sported. Their ankle bells resounded as musical instruments played. Purport to that verse by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Nowadays, we see that in championship boxing matches, as soon as there is a victory, all the friends and relatives of the victorious boxer rush into the ring to congratulate him, and often the champion will dance around in great happiness. Exactly in this mood, Krishna and Balaram danced about, celebrating their victory with their friends and relatives. Text 30, last verse in this little part that I'm commenting on. Everyone except Kamsa rejoiced at the wonderful feat Krishna and Balaram had performed. The exalted brahmanas and the great saints proclaimed, "Excellent, excellent." Purport. It is understood that as the best of the Brahmins and saints were exclaiming, "Excellent, excellent," the worst of the Brahmins, namely Kamsa's priest, were seriously grieving. Of course, we can see they're going to be out of work soon. They're the priest of Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chaksumalitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jayatam Surito Pangor Mama Manda Mater Gati Mat Sarva Sva Patambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano. I'd like to thank you all for coming today to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. I was thinking about this. I have the same verses are in the Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami. And I was going to read them, but first I thought I would just take a moment of appreciating. Sometimes I just appreciate, especially I listened to the Sunday lecture last night with Sesha Prabhu was talking about Tamal Krishna Maharaj so nicely. So I was just thinking how special the different devotees are that we see every day, and we don't specifically notice that how it is that we're in the 10th canto. We're reading the 10th canto, and there's certain qualifications. And I was just thinking of some of them. Just like, for instance, when Lord Chaitanya was talking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and they brought up, actually it was afterwards, they mentioned how Lord Chaitanya is an incarnation, is Krishna himself. And they said, well, what's the proof of that? So they went back and forth with all the different Shastric evidences, and then he finally said, was it Gopinath? Who was it? Govinda? He said to him, without getting a drop of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, you won't be able to understand anything. So you could just see how out of frustration after you're talking to a very convinced Mayavadi that you could get frustrated. You say, without getting the mercy, you're not going to understand anything. So that means since we're understanding something, we're coming back day by day, that we've all gotten some of that mercy. And that mercy is, of course, is Krishna, but in the mood of Radharani with her emotions, coming in the disciplic succession, and Srila Prabhupada is giving that to us. And then, so we shouldn't forget that. That also, what are some of the other qualifications for sitting here today and hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam? We performed vows for decades, most of us for decades and decades, maintaining vows given us by Srila Prabhupada, who is in disciplic succession, which we didn't even know what that meant before we met him, coming directly from Krishna, performing sacrifice, be happy by sacrifice. We're following the Bhagavad Gita. If you look at the devotees' lives, the sadhana that Prabhupada gave us is so wonderful that you could go right through the different chapters. Chapter 1, you could say, okay, here's good reasons, moral reasons. But then by chapter 2, Krishna is explaining that, yes, that has its place. Just like, for instance, there's a stoplight. Everybody has to stop at a stop. Well, when it's red, you're supposed to stop. Otherwise, you get a ticket. But if there's a policeman there that waves you through, that supersedes the stoplight. So there can be so many instructions, but when Krishna personally comes, Dharmam's tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam, and he gives you instructions, those instructions supersede everything else. So he explains that we're not this body. Okay. Nobody has a problem accepting that's sitting here. We've all accepted that. And then he says you learn to tolerate. The fact that we're here means that we have to learn, we've learned to tolerate. That means you're becoming liberated. Then he says both analytically and by working without fruitive results, you'll realize that. So analytically, every day we discuss Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and we're performing devotional service, which is a non-fruitive activity. And we're going, by performing sacrifice, we had the Yuga Dharma. We didn't even know that just coming before Krishna and smiling, dancing, raising your hands. What was that? We read about that when you pull your hands up, you're pushing away the whole material energy. Just by raising your hands, singing and dancing. This is actually Vedic sacrifice. According to this age, those with sufficient intelligence, Prabhupada gives us that Sumedasa, we worship Krishna. We're actually worshiping Krishna when we're singing and dancing before him. So we're performing something that the Vedic, who would ever think that Vedic potency would be available in Kali Yuga? But through this mercy channel that we've got, this is all happening. And then as you move through the fourth chapter, it says there's so many sacrifices. How do you know? He says, well, accept a bona fide spiritual master. Mostly everybody's accepted a spiritual master and is following those directions in disciplic succession, becoming free. And then even if fifth chapter, action and Krishna consciousness, we're performing that, so our intelligence has been developed. We've found out what intelligence means, proper perspective. If it goes away, we know how to lose intelligence. Contemplate the objects of the senses, you lose your intelligence. Bring it back under the control of the self, you gain your intelligence. Hearing Krishna. So we developed intelligence. And then sixth chapter, who's the best yogi? One who's thinking about Krishna. Yogi namapi sarvesham. So even though yoga, there's so much yoga, who's performing yoga? The devotees. So just to some of the qualifications that we're listening here in class, and we don't notice, just like it says, if someone performs activities in the mode of goodness, that's sometimes a little popular, do some yoga, maybe be a vegetarian or a vegan. It's compared to like getting to the airport. But you really don't go anywhere when you get to the airport. You have to get on the plane. So all the devotees, they've gotten onto the transcendental plane. All right, that's a pun. And then now it doesn't feel like you're moving when you're on the plane, but if you look out the window, you can see so many places that you've already gone by. So we can see just by going through Bhagavad Gita that we've already gone through so many different, like Prabhupada called it the elevator. You can take the steps or you can take the elevator. And they had the little numbers, the old ones, they used to have the analog, I guess. Now digital. But you see the different numbers going by. We're going by these different platforms of existence by this special mercy. I mean, how it is, it may take some time before one realizes what Prabhupada has done. That there's more of a miracle here than one can understand. And just like with the atomic energy, they think it's so incredible that they can split the bond of an atom and create a tremendous destructive force. But Prabhupada's potency of these mantras, special Maha Mantra, given by the spiritual master, chanted under vows and under sadhana, has a more powerful effect that it separates the bonds of the jiva to the material energy. And the fallout from that can destroy the whole cosmic existence, because the radiation and contamination of hearing and chanting properly creates this chain reaction. And nobody can tell where this chain reaction will ever stop. In fact, when they did that bomb in 45, the scientists said, we're really not sure if this chain reaction will ever stop. In fact, it could destroy the whole world. Oh well, let's check and find out. So they weren't sure how a chain reaction ever stops. So this chain reaction of hearing and chanting, becoming liberated from the bonds of the material energy, which is very strong, durlabha, very difficult to even get this human form of life. And then I'll read a little bit more because I get excited sometimes when you think about this is such an amazing phenomena that's happening. If we look out the window, I was talking to a non-devotee some time ago who really wasn't particularly interested in Krishna consciousness, but by circumstances we were discussing. Naturally, I was talking. So I was seeing so many points he hasn't understand. How far? So we've got in that one drop of mercy, it has so much mercy in it that it's easy to understand these points that take lifetimes and lifetimes, maybe so many species of life to get, and we kind of like take it for granted, and we take each other sometimes for granted. It says that a saint is never recognized in his hometown. Well, you have to extrapolate a little bit because we're not exactly saints and we're not exactly in our hometown, but how special every devotee is. He's carrying the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, of the disciplic succession of Srila Prabhupada just to be here. They've had to get that drop, and now we're in the 10th canto. So I'll read a little bit more. I just wanted to thank you and mention that, how special this is, that we're actually the ones that we're hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is from the Gopal Chanpu, and it says, it's almost identical, the verses. When Mustika threw his punches, Balaram was happy. Receiving a strike from Balaram's palm, he died. He said, in front, with his limbs quivering in pain, his distracted eyes trembled in terror, frightened to see, crushed by time in the form of Balaram and Krishna, indicating the path of Kamsa. Chanur and Mustika passed to another world, causing astonishment to all the eyes. When Krishna and Balaram played with the wrestlers, that was in today's verse too, that they were playing. They're always playing. Threw the two on the ground carelessly, not showing knowledge of skill, Kuta immediately came with Shala and Toshala, but Krishna and Balaram danced, splitting them open by striking them with the left foot and their left hands. Okay. When Krishna and Balaram wanted to fight with all the assembled troops in back and all the other wrestlers. So we remembered after these 5 were killed, Kamsa had his other wrestlers and the other troops, because troops means he's got an army. And they were all supposed to charge after Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna and Balaram wanted to fight. He said, okay, they had their fighting dhotis on, and they rolled up, tightened their belt. They're ready. And when the wrestlers were killed, the other wrestlers fled. So they all left, making Krishna and Balaram and the others laugh. So here you have to picture the scene that this fighting match is going on. It's a big arena, like a stadium, and all the troops are there, by the door, and they have their weapons, and then there's the other wrestlers, which you can imagine what kind of wrestlers these are. We have, I think on TV they have something like professional wrestling, Hulk Hogan, and they have these. They're like almost 7 feet tall, and they're about 300 pounds, and some of them are really very intimidating looking. They're big, so we could imagine back at the transition of the yugas, Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga, what these wrestlers looked like. They were big and they were strong, and they all ran away. So when they ran away, Krishna Balaram and the others, they all laughed at that. Okay. Just as you sent your troops to kill me, I sent them to the other world. When you sent the elephant to the gate, I sent him to the other world. Then today, I sent all the wrestlers off. I have sent off the wrestlers. Now, I will play with my friends on this comfortable road. In this way, Krishna instructed Kamsa in the assembly and played. So now we understand that Krishna had called for his friends to come. So all his cowherd boys, they came in. There's bodies laying around, but they all started playing. So this part I thought was actually quite amusing. When they played with their friends, the friends defeated Krishna and Balaram, the cowherd boys. So they were also wrestling with Krishna and Balaram, but they won. They lost to the Mustika and Chanora, but here their cowherd friends. Just see, they're not so big. We beat the, And seeing this defeat by their friends, Kamsa was troubled. he was troubled in heart. The two caused astonishment in the mock fighting with their friends as the praiseworthy four Varnas watched, because we understand back then everything was Varnashram, and they were watching. The two were respected equally, gave respect to their friends of the same age. They appeared glorious with the joy caused by the faultless, they were glorious with joy caused by the faultless heavenly and earthly music. So there was music playing the whole time when this is going on. I'm not sure, maybe it's some kind of music's going on while the wrestling matches are going on. They're playing music. And the demigods were also playing music. I think they usually talk about kettle drums. There's at least kettle drums. They're very heavenly sounding. So this next sentence, listen to this. They kept beat with the wrestling and their main dancing in the divine performance. So while they were wrestling and while they were dancing around the arena, wrestling with Chanora, Musika, they're keeping time with the drums and the music beat. Well, I remember also when Krishna was dancing on the head of the Kaliya serpent, it said that he was doing it in a very artistic way. He was dancing. He wasn't just giving Kaliya his mercy of his footprint on his head. He was actually dancing on his hoods. So we hear that Krishna, even though he's in the middle of this scene here, this could have been turned out different if it wasn't Krishna and Balaram, but they know how to have a good time. And we know that Krishna sometimes does like to fight. That's why there's Jai and Vijay and that whole pastime. So, but these particular ones, he made a good show for the four Varnas and ashrams that were in the audience as he was keeping time with, they kept the beat while wrestling as the main dancers in a divine performance. They mounted the heavenly airplanes in a joyous festival. The prestige increased by the shower of flowers, For a half an hour, they made everyone fix their minds on one object. So we know that Krishna, he does say that quite often. Just fix your mind on me, always think of me. Sama sarveshu, let's see, how many other ways does he say that? Ahoitakiya patiyata, unmotivated, uninterrupted, so uninterrupted. So Krishna likes this exclusive thought of him, always saying, Kirtanya sada Hare. So that sada means always, is it? Yeah. So always, and then of course he says, always think of him, always chant his holy names. So Krishna is so kind that in this performance he demonstrated how to fix your mind on Krishna. So that's what I was going to say about this. We can take some questions or comments, and we can, or I can keep talking.
Hare Krishna. So when this is going on, in this chapter it's explained that Kamsa is scared, mortally afraid of Krishna. When he sees them, he sees death. And then Chanur and Mushtik, in their dialogue, they explain, you're like, you have killed so many demons, you're so strong, so this fight is fair. But they are not afraid. Kamsa is afraid. Kamsa knows their power. But Chanur and Mushtik are not afraid. Even though they acknowledge that these are small boys and still they have done such great deeds. So how is that?
Well, that was in the earlier verses. So I wasn't specifically mentioning it. Well, of course, we understand that it wouldn't have been proper to fight an opponent who's afraid. That's another Kshatriya rule, that if he's really afraid, you're not supposed to. So I can back it up a little bit. But they were actually, sometimes it says, when the two large wrestlers came to strike Krishna Balaram, they missed them. You can see him taking a big swing, and Krishna just moves out of the way, how that frustrates them. So the wrestlers at first could not recognize, but later they understood Krishna Balaram's strength, and in either case they blamed Kamsa. So they were thinking, that Kamsa set us up with these two, because what was Kamsa's motive? He was getting us to be killed here. So first, when they didn't recognize it, they said, oh, two little kids, all right, this will be fun, because they're demons. And then they recognized Krishna's strength, and they says, Kamsa, you sent us in here to be killed. So it says, the wrestlers first thought, these boys are very strong, but do not know wrestling. Because they did ask them, he says, Krishna said, in response to that, you think we don't know wrestling? Well, we wrestle all day with our friends out in in Vrindavan forest. That's what we do. We wrestle, so we know some moves. So they said, these boys, okay. The wrestlers first thought, these boys are very strong, but they do not know wrestling. Why did Kamsa match us with someone who doesn't know fighting? Later, they thought, we can really understand that these two are the most expert in wrestling and the scriptures. Frightened Kamsa has foolishly matched us with them. So they started to see that this isn't, because whenever you listen to what the demons say, they always make you think that this will be good for you. But then you realize they're just using you, and it's only for them, and in fact they'll probably kill you. If you are successful, they'll kill you, and if you're not successful, you're going to die. it's a common theme that's in almost all movies, that if you cooperate with the bad guy, he really doesn't care about you. He's just, and in fact, we can see the activities of the psychology of a con man, where you always think that you're going to get the good deal, but actually you're being cheated. That Maya does that. She always lets you think that this will be, you'll actually be happy here, but in essence you're getting killed. So con men came from the root. It used to be confidence. They get your confidence. So Maya gets your confidence to engage in activities that will actually fatal. Oh, we got a hand up. Are you just scratch? Oh, he's got a hand. Okay.
So I was thinking that if they're going by the Kshatriya code, kill or be killed, you'd be if you're killed, you go to the heavenly planets also. If these wrestlers, they had some Kshatriya codes in them, whatever. that's
right.
That's our dharma. Really, we're going to do some fighting. If we kill, well, heaven. If we win, victory for us.
And actually, if you think about that, in the old days, at least when I was growing up, they used to have this saying about sports. They say it's not whether you win or lose, but it's how you play the game. And that's sports in the mode of goodness. That, in other words, in order for me to achieve my top level of performance, if I'm challenged by then by that competition, I'll come to I'll perform my best by engaging in a competition. Then later it changed into mode of passion. If we don't win, I'm not going to pay you. I'm only paying you to win. And then it went into the mode of ignorance. Win at any cost. Hurt them, whatever it takes. Take out that quarterback. Just as long as you don't get penalized. Or maybe we'll send in the third string. He can get penalized and taken out of the game, but at least we'll take the quarterback. So there's sports in the different modes of nature. But originally it was like that Kshatriya code is that, yes, let's do it, and because with Dharma, destiny plays out. You can actually see destiny by Dharma, because if you're not doing your Dharma, you're controlled by the whim of your mind in the mode of passion. In Dharma, what are you supposed to do if you're not going to listen to your mind? You do your duty. Nowadays, the mind is very prevalent, and it tells you, yes, but why don't you do it this way, you do it that way? So the mental concoction, when a person gives up all varieties of sense desire that arise from mental concoction. But if you think about it, if I'm not this body, what should I do? Why should I even take care of it? Why not I'll just chant Hare Krishna. Well, maybe. But so no, he says you have your Dharma. You have to take care of this body. And then of course we have Mercy Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says you do it as your service. Your family members are actually devotees of Krishna, so you're taking care of devotees. Not that they're your possession. By contemplating an object, you want to possess it. Know that they're Krishnas, and you're taking care of them because they're Krishnas. So manasa deha geha. Did you have a question? You look like you just about.
Can I make it? I just wanted to make that comment. In this chapter, Krishna tries to get out of the wrestling match. He says, we are just young boys, and we should play with those of equal strength. So that irreligion does not taint the members of the audience. Krishna is arguing that, we are young boys and you're big wrestlers. But then Chanura replies that you aren't really a child, you're not even a young man, and neither is Balaram. He is the strongest of the strong. After all, you playfully killed an elephant who had the strength of 1,000 other elephants. So they knew his strength. They had just killed an elephant that has 1,000 elephants, the strength of 1,000 elephants. That's what got me wondering when I first heard this. They're not afraid of Krishna and Balaram, even though they recognize these are young, small children, and they've killed.
Who was the deer in Ram Leela? Marichi, was it?
Marichi.
he said, well, I got a choice here when he was told by Ravana. He says, if you don't go do that, I'll kill you. So then what was his response to that? What was his intelligence at that point? If I'm going to get killed, better to get killed by Ram. So here they are, okay. If I don't do this, Kamsa certainly, he wasn't very kind about most people. He would have killed them, you know. And we see that also. As soon as you say no to the bad guy, he shoots you right there on the spot, even if you say yes half the time just to make a point. So the idea is, he's okay. So, you know, you can't help but think that they're in the position of a demon and Kamsa, but in the Vedic culture, probably everybody was aware of what the real situation was. They were just on the other side. So they probably also knew, just like Krishna went and talked to Dhritarashtra, you know, and says, you know, this, you really shouldn't engage in this warfare. And he more or less said that, you know, they're my kids, you know, I'm going to do it, you know. So most of the time people, they do know somehow. And even when Putana had Krishna on her lap, you can't help but think, when she looked at Krishna's face, that maternal aspect had to break through all that other conditioning that she had at the particular moment that of the service she was to perform, to give us all those wonderful verses to meditate on, how merciful, who's more merciful than Krishna. So everybody, they have that, it's just not the predominant feature of that pastime. So that's what I took at it, that they said, well, I'm going to be killed, you know. He killed by Krishna Bala, he killed them. And he did it rather quickly, you know. It was kosher. Any other questions or comments? Oh, yes, thank you. What's your name, Prabhu? Janmastami.
I was intrigued by your introduction, you know, of how the qualification of the devotees to hear Bhagavatam, in particularly 10th canto. One question that comes to my mind, you know, in the text, purport of text 5 of Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada describes this is the where Rupa Goswami unpacks the different levels of spiritual advancement. And Prabhupada, in the purport, describes that we should, you know, in the progression from Kanishta to Madhyama Vaishnava, Prabhupada says we should have the intelligence to know our own position and the position of others. Well, one thing that seems to take place, you know, as we look out the window, you know, as the plane's going up, you know, we see these different milestones. But another thing that seems to take place is that we become increasingly aware of our level of material contamination. You know, so sometimes it's a little bewildering, you know, to sort out, well, am I actually respectful to other Vaishnavas? You know, am I on the Tadadineshu Maitri platform, or am I still wallowing in the muck, you know, of envy and, you know, self-righteous, you know, pride. So I'm wondering if you could sort that out a little bit.
I was wondering if anybody was going to catch that, because devotees, as they become able to see more, just like when you have a little bit of knowledge, they say it's dangerous. So here's a math situation. How many zeros does it take to make a 1? You can't. There's infinite. So when you have a little bit of knowledge, you know a whole lot more than nothing. But then when you know 2, 3, 4, 5, you start to recognize there's so much more knowledge that I don't know. You actually continually know less. As you learn more, your portion of what you really know becomes less and less, because I'm just almost at the beginning. So that starts to modify a type of humility that's a very important element in Krishna consciousness, of how the humility goes up as you learn more. In fact, that's the item of knowledge, is humility, prognosis, nonviolence, tolerance. They have those 20 items, I think it is. The first, without the accepting the spiritual master, the other 19 are not really valid. So I was thinking that for others it's nice just once in a while to hear, but not that we take it, because we still have a mind. Krishna is so kind that the mind constantly reminds us to take shelter of the intelligence. It can't be out of order. You know, it says your mind is out of, you have to fix it on Krishna. It's broken because it's out of order. It's above the intelligence. So when it's in the proper order, it's below the intelligence. So every time the mind comes up with its almost ridiculous ideas of how to find happiness in this world, when your intelligence is functioning, you almost have to laugh or cry that this, with a moment's inattention, you could go right back into it. We're being held up by mercy. Otherwise, you don't have the two choices of the intelligence and the mind. You just have the mind. Everyone is forced to act helplessly by the impulses born of the material nature. But by Prabhupada's mercy and Krishna's mercy, he says you can develop this intelligence by withdrawing your consciousness from the senses and bringing it back under the control of the self and fixing it on Krishna. And then your intelligence, Krishna says, I'm giving you that intelligence. That's non-difference. Then your mind that has your intelligence in Krishna in it, that's your friend. That's when your mind's your friend. It's actually, your mind's not your friend. It's Krishna's your friend, and he's in your mind we're a member of Krishna's family. We're all members, right? We're members. But the thing is, because we forgot, we have to remember. Like reunion. You know, there's a union, yoga, and then you have to reunion, you come back together again. So we're members. We just have to remember. And when you remember, you can establish your membership. And that ship is ISKCON. We're on the ship of ISKCON. So we're floating in this memory. And what's floating? What's the liquid that's holding up this boat that's plying across the whole substance? Is this param jisa navardante. So we have to always keep the mercy, because otherwise, even a man of discrimination can't keep his intelligence fixed. Just like that boat will be swept away by a strong wind if the rudder's not working. So we have to rudder. That's the captain of the ship. The word for captain, we've met you by providence. The word for captain in there is also rudder. That he's the captain of our ship. He's ruddering our ship across this ocean. So that's just a little of my insanity. So it's the mercy. You can't. If you lose the mercy, then that's the result of an offense. The offense is that you can't hear the mercy anymore. And then if your intelligence is broken, it's out of order. Like if you come up to a vending machine, they have a sign on it, out of order. So our intelligence gets out of order, and it acts as under the mind instead of above the mind. Is that all right? I mean, just you have to sing, dance, and Prabhupada said, and be happy in Krishna consciousness. The whole Vedic culture was designed because by performing sacrifice, you'll get all desirable things. The only thing is with this mind, it's very helpful for keeping us humble, because this is what you'll have to listen to if you lose the mercy. And would you like to have to be forced to listen to what your mind says? Maybe you got a good one. Mine, I don't want to listen to it. It goes, narco, what is it? It goes in one direction only. So the only relief is I don't have to listen to it anymore. It's still there. It still has its propaganda. So, we always are trying to please Prabhupada, and we're learning more and more what that involves.
One thing that occurs to me, as you were talking, when we become aware of our shortcomings, which basically is the contamination of the mind,
if you listen
as you intelligently brought up. But what it does when it comes up, then it's an inducement or impetus to cry to Krishna. Yeah. There's a couplet from Bhajana Thakur's Bhajan Rahasya, where he describes one who fails to try to free himself from anarthas, meets only with misfortune in this lifetime and doesn't attain the mercy of the holy name. So then the next verse it almost seems self-contradictory. And then he says that on one's own, one can't free himself from anarthas. But if he cries to the holy name for several days, then the holy name will free him from all anarthas. Will clear all the anarthas from the heart. Okay.
We have a word, pachodya. It comes 4 times in the Gayatri, and one can think, where is this energy to resist the material nature coming from? This is a very special thing. Nobody can resist the material energy. It's just not possible unless you get help from the outside or the inside, depending on which perspective, but it's actually the inside. That we're getting, there's something very special going on. Nobody, even if you slip up, you can't do it. The fact that you can resist material energy, the greatest yogis, we got the stories, the fish and the Vishnu, we got plenty of stories that the greatest, most powerful personalities cannot do what the devotees are doing because of the mercy that's coming through. So sometimes I think Gayatri's tapping you on the shoulder like, look what's going on here. I'm the one that's helping you. Krishna's and his different devotees are what's holding you aloof from the material energy. The dog is snapping right there, and there's somebody holding the leash that's stopping it, and you don't want to just make fun of them because they let go of that leash. We're in trouble. So we're getting help, and that's where the tears are coming from. That rahasya, that means mystery, isn't it? What's the translation of rahasya? Krishna Surup. Secret. So this is the secret of that internal change that's taking place, because in the bodily conception of life, we're just gross, But how subtle this is taking place. We're getting support, and we're supposed to think about how that's coming and meditate on it, and know it, meditate on it, feel it. Okay? Jai, all glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.